Hey guys, this is Mr. Dodge at Boyd Hill again, and now we're doing our third reptile video. This is on the American alligator, as you can see from the screen, and this used to be one, and when you get a chance later on, you'll see what I look like compared to this.
Hey guys, my name is Jamila and we are back at Boyd Hill today. And today our focus is on the American alligator. We're also going to touch on the American crocodile a little bit as well, just kind of tell you guys some differences between the species. But the main guy that you'll come across is the American alligator, so that's our focus for today. So these are actually what's considered bone clones, meaning they are not from a real live animal that has passed away. Instead, they're replicas made out of resin. And so this is a very sustainable way to source some good educational material, but they are to scale. So they're very realistic in that way. This skull right here, this is actually a crocodile skull. And we'll talk more about the differences, but the way to know it right off the bat is by looking at that snout. So that more pointed snout, that's a dead giveaway that is a crocodile. And then to my left, your right, is the American alligator. Again, the difference in that snout is very obvious. So this is more of a rounded U shape, and that's just based on a lot of details that we're going to discuss later. I want to start out with this guy. So this is just a little toy, really, but really the focus is the little guys on our back. So can you see that?
Yes.
Awesome. So alligators are reptiles. So like a lot of your reptiles, many of your reptiles, rather, they hatch from eggs. So the really cool things about alligators and a lot of your other reptiles is the temperature of the nest determines the gender of the eggs that are hatched. So typically in Florida, mating season for American alligators is going to start around April. Coming closer to June, I think, is when we start getting some of those hatchlings coming out. So mother is going to defend her young very aggressively, very vigorously, especially for that first about year or so of life. Mainly she's protecting them from other predators such as other alligators, especially male alligators, bigger fish, birds, things like that. Up until an alligator reaches about 4 to 5 feet or so, they have more predators. But after that, their only predator are humans. Yeah. So the eggs are preyed upon by raccoons. Fire ants are a very big problem as well when it comes to eggs. So for them to hatch, and then once they hatch, then raccoons can also eat the babies when they're pretty small as well. So what's really cool about the nest again, so mother will lay her nest, and then as the organic matter that she put in her nest degrades, it'll kind of heat up and it'll kind of maintain a constant temperature. So after the eggs hatch, the babies emerge and they make a very distinctive noise. And then that's when mom knows to come get them. So she'll pick them up into her mouth, and then she'll carry them to the nearest water body or wherever she's pre-selected kind of as a safe place, and take them there. Mother does not help feed the babies at all. So she's there as support, but that's just to like scare away other predators. So she's not going to feed them. They feed themselves from the moment they are born. Mainly your babies are going to feed on, crustaceans, smaller fish, snails, things like that. And American alligators in general are opportunistic feeders. So as they get older, they're still going to prey on, raccoons, smaller mammals, fish, anything that may be close to the water body. So that kind of breaks down, in their young stages of life. So a lot of alligators, a majority of them do not live past that first year, unfortunately. Even with mother there trying to protect them, unfortunately a lot of them do fall prey to other animals. When the babies first emerge, they do have very distinct striping patterns on them. And then as they age, they kind of grow out of that, and then like the mom here in this example, it kind of just becomes more of this darker greenish color. Now,
I did notice that those stripes really hide them in the duckweed and around the marsh.
So it's a means of camouflage until they're old enough to then, like we said, don't have a lot of predators at that point. And then that's also a way to tell how old a gator is. So if you see in it and it has very distinct stripes, that's still pretty young. Also based on size. So, and also a really cool way to tell if you just see like the head of an alligator poking out of a water body. And it's just a guesstimation, but the distance between the snout and the eyes in inches is typically how long that gator is in feet. And again, it's not an exact science, but it can kind of give you a good idea of how big that gator is, because sometimes you only see the head poking out of the water. And as far as And as far as length is concerned, while we're on that topic, so mostly gators, most of their length is just going to come from their tail, so that's going to be half of their length, but it does count. Your females are going to be smaller than your males, and typically your females are going to be between 9 to 11 feet. Your males, 11 to 14. They can max out closer to 15. American crocodiles, for example, are usually going to be bigger adults than your American alligator adults. So American crocodiles can get upwards to 19 feet. So going back to the bone clones, really, so this is going to focus our main differences between alligators and crocodiles. So going to the crocodiles, we already talked about the shape of the snout, but also if you're looking at the jaw, so when a crocodile's mouth is closed, it looks very toothy also. And that's because its lower jaw, or its upper jaw rather, is not bigger than its lower jaw. So when it closes, there's no way to cover those teeth. If you're looking at an alligator, as a comparison, his upper jaw is wider than his lower jaw. So when he closes his mouth, it does hide a lot of those teeth. Now, so we just talked about how the alligator's upper jaw is larger than his lower jaw, which is why he's able to hide most of his teeth. So I also want to elaborate on that with another skull. All right, so this is another American alligator skull. You can see it still has the same shape, indicating that this is not a crocodile. And this is actually a real skull. So this was sourced from a real previously living alligator, as opposed to our bone clone, which is made out of resin. This is real skull right here. So if I flip it over, you can really see those teeth. So the alligator is going to have between 74 to 80 teeth. And they're going to lose upwards to 2,000 teeth throughout their lifetime.
Wow.
If you think about the way that they eat, that comes from slashing a lot of things throughout the water, and other behaviors like that. So they're going to have teeth, they're going to wear down and eventually fall out, and they are replaceable. So let's go ahead and get out some real teeth. All right. So in my hand, I have some real alligator teeth. So these are not from the bone clones. You can see they are very long. But also what you might notice is they actually aren't that sharp. And that's because of the sheer force of the alligator's jaw, they don't have to be sharp. So alligators can exert a pressure of between 2,000 to 3,000 PSI when they're biting down on their prey items. And so if you think about it, the average human can go between 150 to 200 PSI. So that is a massive difference in a massive amount of force. So why do you need sharp teeth when you can just crush your prey really hard? So alligators, of course, are reptiles. And a lot of your reptiles are where people like to say cold-blooded. Now, cold-blooded is really an umbrella term. It's not as specific as we would like to say. So a good word here would actually be the term ectotherm. And so an ectotherm is an animal that relies on external heat sources to heat up its body. An endotherm, which is what humans are, they can regulate their body heat internally. So one of the ways that alligators are actually able to regulate their body heat is through these things right here. So these are called scutes. So these are what these are. So they are under the skin, they're between layers of skin, and this is what actually helps them thermoregulate. So when you see an alligator out sunbathing, these are helping to absorb the heat, and then the blood vessels that run through these, it helps distribute the heat through the blood vessels.
Oh, wow.
And so that's how they're able to heat up very fast. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and wrap up this video. Brief overview of what we went through. So again, on my right hand side, your left hand side, this is the American crocodile. They are an endangered species here in the United States. Usually if you see them, they're going to be a lighter color. They're going to have that very pointed snout. And then they're also going to be toothy. So you're going to notice that they have a lot of teeth coming out of their mouth. These guys like salt water, so you'll probably only see them, or you're guaranteed to only see them in the southernmost tip of Florida if you live in the United States. On my left, your right, we have the American alligator. Again, he has more of a rounded U-shaped snout. He has a lot of jaw force, but he's not necessarily showing all those teeth when his mouth is closed. Now, the American alligator used to be an endangered species, but he is now threatened, and I think his mainly because a lot of people get the American alligator and the American crocodile confused. So if you do happen to come across these guys, even if you come over to Boyd Hill, there's nothing to fear of wild alligators. The probability of an alligator attacking a human is very low. I think that's a common misconception. As long as you don't feed them, they associate you with fear, and they like to stay as far away from you as they can.
Humans! I'm out of here.